Okay, I am going to officially kick us off. Welcome to the Home and Energy Chats webinar series and our episode dedicated to understanding solar options for your home. My name is Heather Chandler, and I'm the owner and publisher of Green and Healthy Maine Homes. We have a fantastic presentation for you tonight. I know there are a lot of questions on this topic, so I'm excited to dive in. I would like to start by thanking our sponsors. Very special thank you to our season sponsor, Senecal Construction Services. They are now offering net zero ready design build packages in Pownell, conveniently located minutes from Portland, Freeport, and Brunswick. And also a word from our presenting sponsor, Royal River Heat Pumps.
Hi, I'm Scott Libby, owner of Royal River Heat Pumps. A long time ago, the Royal River, like most rivers, was an important part of life, powering mills and allowing a community to grow and flourish. Nowadays, we see what a river can help to create. We believe that ordinary people can come together to make a big difference too. This year, Royal River Heat Pumps will invest our advertising dollars into a new campaign we've launched called Ripple to River. Each month, we'll choose a different nonprofit organization whose focus is kids battling childhood illnesses. We'll tell you about their particular mission and let you know how you can help support them. We're also launching an online resource at rippletoriver.com, providing information and a link for donations. Little things can turn into big change. I'm Scott Libby from Royal River Heat Pumps in Freeport, and I hope you'll join us in making change happen for kids and families that are facing challenges that nobody ever wants to face. Visit rippletoriver.com to learn more and donate, and thank you.
Excellent. Thank you to both of our Home and Energy Chat sponsors. And a quick overview of the evening. We will begin the webinar with a presentation from each of our panelists and then open it up to time for Q&A following the presentations. So we did receive some questions during the registration process, and certainly if you have additional questions now or as you hear from our presenters at any time during the evening, feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to get to all of them. And a reminder that the webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our website, greenmainehomes.com, later this week. So if you want to share it with your colleagues, clients, friends, it will be there for you, and we'll send an email with that link for you as well. So if you are unfamiliar with us, Green and Healthy Maine Homes is a media company dedicated to inspiring healthy, efficient, and future-ready Maine homes. We publish a quarterly print magazine, an annual Green Home and Energy show, an online business directory, monthly newsletters, and an active social media presence. Please visit us at greenmainehomes.com to learn more. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists for the evening. Sam Zuckerman says that a lifelong interest in renewable energy and high efficiency building practices led him to pursue a career in the solar energy sector. Before establishing Maine Solar Solutions, he worked as the sole salesperson and project manager for a Portland solar electric and HVAC contractor. Sam founded Maine Solar Solutions in 2012. After nearly 1,000 solar installations, Maine Solar Solutions continues to grow, and today Maine Solar Solutions is celebrating 10 years in business with 40 employees and 3 Maine locations. So welcome, Sam. And Tony Napolitano studied environmental engineering at the U.S. Military Academy and has been involved in environmental issues, green building, and renewable energy for more than 25 years. He is the owner of Roundhouse Media, a publishing and marketing company focused on sustainability, and one of the founders of Maine Community Solar, an organization that helps Mainers understand and join community solar programs. Tony sees community solar as one way to create a sustainable future for Mainers, our communities, and the planet. So welcome, Tony, and thank you both for being here. At this point, I am going to turn it over to Sam, who is going to kick off our presentations.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I'm going to go to the next slide. So next. Okay. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sam Zuckerman, the owner of Maine Solar Solutions. The focus of my presentation tonight is to explain what grid-tied solar electric is, how Maine's net metering solar policy works, and how we size the system. And I'm also going to touch a little bit on battery-based systems as well. It's been really exciting to celebrate our 10th anniversary this year. I just did a quick count before the webinar. We have over 1,400 solar electric systems installed and have installed over 31,000 solar panels in these past 10 years. It's great to be part of a vibrant solar industry in the state of Maine, being one of the many companies providing good value for Mainers, good quality to our customers, good jobs and professional opportunities for our employees. So we're always happy, as a company, our goal is to try to educate folks about how solar works, be informative, give them the information that's needed to make informed decisions. So we're always happy to participate in these educational forums. So let's start right off with what is grid-tied solar electric and net metering. Next. This image provides a good representation of what a grid-tied solar system is, as well as how Maine's net metering solar policy works. For this discussion, the term grid or utility are interchangeable. It's the electric company. Most customers in Maine get their power from CMP or Versant. This policy also applies to the many smaller electric utilities throughout the state. Grid-tied solar electric is the most common type of solar installed around the state, or for that matter, around the world. With a grid-tied system, your home is always attached to the grid, and you always have a source of power from the electric utility. So here's how it works. Your home is essentially a dead-end circuit receiving power from the utility. When the sun is shining, the solar electric system produces power. Your home will use the solar-produced electricity first to operate any loads that are running in the house before pulling power in from the utility. Obviously, at night, when the sun isn't shining, the solar electric system doesn't produce power, and you'll get all of your electricity from the utility. So let's take a look at two scenarios on a sunny day. If the electrical loads in the home are greater than the solar production, you'll use up all of the solar produced electricity and get the remainder of the power needed to run your loads from the grid. And it's seamless. There's no flickering lights or switches, just two sources of power flowing into your service panel. It's under the circumstance where the electrical loads in the home are less than the solar production that you'll satisfy those electrical loads entirely with solar produced electricity, and you'll send any excess solar electricity back out to the grid where you'll build up a kilowatt hour credit. You buy electricity in units called kilowatt hours. That's what the electric meter measures. The utility charges you based on how many kilowatt hours you use per month. At the end of your billing period, the electric company will provide you with a bill that shows two meter readings. One shows how many kilowatt hours you bought or imported from the grid, and the other shows how many kilowatt hours you sent out or exported to the grid. For every kilowatt hour you send out to the grid, that's the excess solar electricity, you'll earn a kilowatt hour credit. These credits are earned and redeemed on a one-to-one basis to offset your electricity purchase from the utility. So at the end of your billing period, you'll receive a bill that shows how many kilowatt hours you bought from the electric company and how many you sent out or exported to the electric company, and they give you a one-to-one credit. Every kilowatt hour you send out reduces your bill by 1 kilowatt hour. So if you imported more kilowatt hours than you exported, you would pay the net difference, thus net metering or net energy billing. This net metering policy works on an annual basis. For a typical Maine customer, typically we're going to design a system to offset 100% of the annual electricity usage. Your solar electric system will produce more power during the spring and summer months when the days are longer and there's more sunshine. This will leave you with excess kilowatt hour credits left over at the end of those summer and spring months. Those excess credits go into a bank and can be redeemed on a rolling 12-month basis, first in, first out. So for a typical Maine customer, the summertime excess kilowatt hour credits are used to offset the wintertime bills when electricity consumption tends to increase and solar production tends to decrease. It's important to note that for most utilities, CMP and Versant specifically, that there is a fixed delivery charge portion of your bill, and that fixed charge is a monthly charge that is not offset by the kilowatt hour credits. Next, frequently asked questions about net metering. What if the system produces more power in a year than you use? The credits expire after 12 months. They're earned and redeemed on a rolling 12-month basis, first in, first out. So if you have excess kilowatt hour credits built up in May, you have until the following May to use them, and you would use up your April kilowatt hour credits first. If you produce more power in a year than you use, you lose those kilowatt hour credits. The utility does not cut you a check or pay for excess kilowatt hour credits. Question 2 is, can I use excess kilowatt hour credits from your solar array to offset another account? And the answer is yes. You can earn, the solar policy in Maine allows you to earn credits on one account and apply it to other accounts. So this is commonly used by homeowners that may want to offset electricity usage at their camp or at their ski condo, in addition to their primary home. They'll oversize the solar array on the home. Excess kilowatt hour credits from the home array can be applied to additional bills. This is commonly referred to as virtual net metering and is in fact the backbone of community solar projects, where a subscription to a solar farm allows you to apply credits produced at a solar farm against your individual bill. Next, the benefits of net metering: you get the full value of your solar electric system, whether or not you're using the power right away. You get a 1-to-1 kilowatt hour credit, which is really nice because that insulates you from price increases. So if you're earning kilowatt hour credits during the summer and the utility electric prices go up, you're still getting a 1-to-1 credit. So you're getting a 1-to-1 credit on the unit of electricity, not on dollars. The other benefit of net metering is that it allows you to produce excess in the summertime and roll that over 12 months. And a properly designed system, you can reduce your bill to essentially the fixed monthly charge, which ranges to about $13 to $15 a month. Next. Next slide. It should be a slide that says grid-tied solar FAQ. Okay, thank you. So frequently asked questions about how the solar electric system works is, 1, does the grid-tied system require batteries? And 2, what happens if the power goes out, if there's a power outage? So grid-tied solar electric systems don't require batteries. Grid-tied systems without batteries are designed to shut down during power outages. This protects the system from delivering power out to the grid where it can endanger line workers. So your standard grid-tied solar system doesn't provide backup power during an outage. In order to have backup power during an outage, we would add a battery to the system. This battery would be a place where we would buffer the electricity, store it, and discharge it to operate loads during an outage. We'll cover battery-based systems towards the end of this presentation. Next. All right. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what it's like to work with a solar installer when you're interested in finding out whether solar would make sense for your home. Next. So the typical process that you probably would engage with any solar electric company would be that initial contact, where the solar electric company is going to be available to answer questions, basic questions about solar, and most importantly, gather information about your home, your electricity usage, and typically schedule a solar site assessment. The solar site assessment is when the solar consultant comes out, measures your roof, takes a shade reading, will take pictures of your electric service, if they're able to get into the home, take pictures of your service panel, basically gather all of the information that would be needed by the solar company to produce a solar proposal. Next. So the next step is back at the office. The solar consultant is going to take that information that was gathered and use it to design a system and prepare a solar proposal. The solar proposal will then be presented to you either as an email proposal or as a presentation via Zoom, or perhaps even in person, where the solar company will educate you about how solar works, explain what options are available, different solar panels, racking systems, inverter types, and answer your questions. And obviously, also present pricing and financing options for the solar electric system designed for your home. The final step is the solar installation. Solar electric companies are essentially specialized electrical contractors. All of the work that's performed by a solar electric company is covered under the National Electric Code and needs to be performed by licensed electricians or helper electricians under the supervision, installers under the supervision of a licensed electrician. Solar installations require electrical permits, and in most cases in Maine, more and more towns are requiring building permits as well. Solar installation companies also take care of the applications for permitting and the applications that are required by the utility for interconnection and for the net energy billing agreement that engages you with the net metering policy. Next, we're going to go over sizing solar systems. Next. So how do we determine what size system is needed? First, we have to take a look at your electric bill and calculate how many kilowatt hours a year on an annual basis, how many kilowatt hours a year your home is using. Most customers want to offset 100% of their annual electricity usage. So we design a system using modeling software to design a system so that the solar electric system will produce as many kilowatt hours a year as you're using. We also will take into account not just your current electricity consumption, but we would also ask questions, or you may want to take into consideration whether you're going to be adding electrical loads to your home. Many homeowners are adding heat pump hot water heaters, electric cars to their homes, all in an effort to A, reduce their use of fossil fuels and the expense, and in many cases also to reduce their carbon footprint as well. So when designing a system, we may take into account not only how much electricity your home is currently using, but how much electricity you may expect to use in the future. Next, a quick picture of a typical CMP bill. It's pretty easy using that graph at the bottom to determine how many kilowatt hours a year your home is using. In this case, it really rounded right up to 6,800 kilowatt hours a year for this electric bill. Next. So what size solar array is needed? So we use the information gathered during the site evaluation or the site survey to model a system and model the output of the solar array. We take into account the specifics of your home, the available space on the roof, the pitch or angle of your roof, the orientation of the southerly roof to south. We take shade readings on site. So shade, you may have shade impacting from other parts of the home or from trees. We also factor into our model the geographic location of the home. The geographic location gives two pieces of important information. One, it provides decades worth of data about how much sunlight hits on average any given day, taking into account cloud cover, rain, and snow. And the number two thing is that the geographic location in our model also provides information about what the sun's angle is throughout the day as the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and as the sun is lower on the horizon in the winter and higher in the summertime. So all of that information is taken into account, and we use modeling software to determine how big of a solar array you would need to produce the number of kilowatt hours that you need to offset. Next. Frequently asked questions about system design. What's the best angle for solar panels? The ideal angle for a south-facing solar array is 35 degrees. However, we design and size the system based off of your roof pitch, whether you have a shallower roof or a steeper roof. For instance, if the roof is shallower, let's say 22 degrees, you would only see a 3% drop in output versus the ideal 35 degrees. The same answer also applies to the home's orientation to south. A solar array oriented 30 degrees east or west of south would only see about a 5% reduction in annual output, depending on the roof pitch. Again, we model the output of the system And if folks are curious, you can compare your home's roof to an ideal roof. What's the best type of roof to install on? Solar electric systems can be installed on any type of roof, whether it's an asphalt shingle or a metal roof. There are systems that I'll show you in a couple of slides to show you how we attach. Do you have to install solar on the roof? And the answer is no. If there are aesthetic reasons or technical reasons why you can't install it on your roof, you could consider installing on an outbuilding such as a garage, a barn, or you can install a ground-mounted solar array. Next, we'll just take a quick look at a couple of examples of solar arrays. This is a 4-kilowatt solar array that on this home that I remember, this installation faced a little bit to the west, produces around 5,000 kilowatt hours a year. Next, the next slide is a larger solar array covering that entire garage roof. It's a 7.5 kilowatt solar array, and more southerly facing, it produces 9,600 kilowatt hours a year. Next is an even larger solar array. It's 11 kilowatt hours. This system produces 14,200 kilowatt hours a year. This home was one of the first net zero homes that we installed on almost 8 years ago. This solar electric system produces all of the power that this home uses, including the electricity for their electric car. It's an all-electric home built specifically as a net zero home. Next, we'll look at the major system components very quickly, the solar panels. So we'll go to the next slide, please. The things to know when choosing solar panels is that solar panels come in different wattage, different efficiencies, different size, different appearance. They have different costs and different warranties. So you have options when choosing solar panels. In our company, we typically will show folks 3 or 4 different options and show them how the wattage, the efficiency, the appearance, the cost, all factors together so they can see the differences. Next slide, please. This shows how we attach the solar electric system to the roof. We use a racking system. The panels are mounted on aluminum rails. The rails are attached to the roof with L feet. On a shingled roof, we use a flash detachment point to ensure the integrity of the roof, to ensure a leak-proof installation. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah. With metal roofs, we use a clamping system that clamps onto the standing seam. So we skipped ahead one slide, but that's fine because this shows you an installation on a standing seam metal roof. There's a couple of other types of metal roofs. There's pretty much a system that can install on almost any type of metal roof. Next slide, please. There's an asphalt shingle roof. Next. Just a quick overview of a couple of different installations. You can also see in these pictures the different aesthetics, all black panels versus standard solar panels. Next slide, please. And this is a ground-mounted solar array. Ground-mounted solar arrays come in many different sizes. We mostly install for residential and small commercial customers. We install using a ground screw foundation system, so we don't have to dig holes or pour concrete. We use geotechnical ground screws. Next. So the inverter, there's a couple of other pieces of equipment that we take a look at here. The inverter is sort of the heart of the solar electric system. The inverter's primary function is to convert the DC power that's produced by solar panels into AC power that is used in our homes. Pretty standard inverters are pretty small. They're typically installed right next to your service panel in the garage or in the basement. They can also be installed outside. Next slide, please. Inverters, just about every inverter system nowadays has the ability to provide system monitoring via a web interface or an app on your phone. It allows you to track production. You can see how your solar electric system is working at any given moment. You can also see historical data about how much solar electricity or kilowatt hours are being produced over the course of a day, a month, a year. Most of them allow you to set it up so that you can have a calendar that shows you how many kilowatt hours your system is producing for your billing period. The monitoring systems also provide remote access to the installer that will help in the case of troubleshooting. If there happens to be an issue with your system, we can remotely see your system and usually diagnose what the problem is. Next slide, please. This is another picture of a monitoring platform that actually shows you how every panel can be seen in the production from every panel. Next. So the benefits of owning a solar electric system are pretty straightforward. It allows you to fix your cost of electricity. You're essentially pre-purchasing a lifetime worth of electricity production. Most solar panels are warranted for 25 years, some for 30 years. So you can certainly expect 25, 30, or even 40 years worth of life out of a solar electric system. You obviously get the benefit of reducing the environmental impact of producing power, can reduce your carbon footprint. Combining solar electric systems with heat pump hot water heaters, electric cars allows you to extend and save money on the cost of fossil fuels in your home. You can couple a solar electric system with a battery system to provide backup power for your home as an alternative to installing a generator. And another benefit is the financial benefit, which is that solar electric systems qualify for a 30% federal tax credit. So the next slide, please. So this was really exciting. Just this past year, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, and as part of that bill, the solar electric tax credit was extended to, for 10 years, and it was returned to 30%. So we have 10 years worth of a 30% tax credit, and that tax credit applies to the entire cost of the solar electric system, including the installation and everything else. The solar tax credit extended for 10 years, and then it's scheduled to drop down over the following years and go to 0 years at the end of, I believe it's 2035. Okay, so the final slides here, we go. Okay, next slide, please. So battery-based systems. Actually, if we can go to the previous slide, I'm sorry. Solar electric frequently asked questions. So I'll go through them one by one. What about snow on the solar panels? Although snow on a panel will limit the system's output, in most cases, snow will slide off or melt off the panels. On a shallower pitched roof, snow can last longer, but the annual impact has been minimal. How long do solar panels last? Again, most panels are warranted for 25 years, some for 30 years. We can expect solar electric systems, there's no moving parts, to last well over their warranty period. What if the roof needs to be replaced? As part of the solar site assessment, the solar installer should take a quick look at your roof and suggest to you whether or not your roof may need to be replaced or looked at by a roofer. We typically recommend that if your roof only has 10 or 15 years left in its lifespan, that you replace the roof prior to installing solar. What if you have shade on your roof? Shade will impact the output of the solar array, but it's easy to measure shade and provide that information to you. The real simple math is if you have 10% shading over the course of a year and you were to get a 20 panel system, you would only need to add 2 more panels to offset that shade reduction. So that's information that's typically provided when you're looking at your proposal. If your home doesn't face south, again, we can take a look at the home. We sometimes even install solar on homes that face easterly or westerly. We almost never install solar on north-facing roofs, with very few exceptions. But typically, if the home has orientation between east and west, southeast, southwest, or directly south, you're in good shape. But again, that can be assessed at the solar site assessment. And the shallower the roof pitch, the less critical is the home's orientation to south. Financing, all solar companies offer financing. There's a number of different financing options available out there. Does Maine have any incentives? Maine does not currently have any tax incentive or any rebate incentive for the installation of solar electric. And the final question most folks usually ask is, how long does an install take? Most installs take 1 or 2 days. Sometimes a larger system might take 3 days, but we typically see most systems take about a day. Briefly, next slide, please. 2 quick slides on batteries. The benefits of battery backup. Battery backup allows you to have almost instantaneous power backup. As many of our customers, we have a lot of customers who choose to install the Tesla Powerwall. The power goes out and it's almost instantaneous. In some cases, the customer will actually think that the lights just flickered and they're actually running on the battery. And with most of the battery systems, you'll actually get a text message or something that tells you that you're running on your battery. So you can go ahead and turn off heavy loads so you can extend the life of your battery. The solar electric system, the benefit of combining solar and batteries is that if the sun is shining during the power outage, the solar electric system provides power to your home and helps to keep those batteries charged. For some people, they like the idea of being independent of the grid. You can still be attached to the grid, so you always have a source of power, but you can choose to run off of solar during the day, charge the battery during the day, and run off the battery at night. There's no financial benefit to doing that, but we do have customers that like the fact that they can actually do that. And we may even see some changes in electric utility rates that would create a financial incentive for folks to run their homes off their batteries. The other good news is that with the extension of the IRA, it used to be that if you had solar plus batteries, the batteries would be eligible for the tax credit. Now you can actually get a battery system for your home without solar, and the batteries are now eligible for that 30% tax credit. Final slide. Next. Frequently asked questions about battery backup. Can you add batteries later? Yes, there are systems like the Tesla Powerwall and others like Generac now that allow you to add a battery to a grid-tied system at a later date and get that tax credit. How long will the battery last? The answer is that varies. It depends on how many loads are being powered, for how long, and the size of the battery bank. The other factor to consider is the weather. If sunlight's available to recharge the batteries will last longer. Worst case scenario is a power outage during the winter after a snowstorm and there isn't sunlight on the solar panels, the batteries won't last as long. Can you power your entire home with a battery backup? Again, that depends. This gets into the complexity of a battery-based backup design. We work with our customers to find out what their goals are, what their budget is, and then we present the options that make the most sense. Final slide. Thank you very much. I look forward to answering everyone's questions, and we always appreciate reaching out. We truly have built the business on being a source for information. We take a consultative approach when working with people. Our goal is to get people the information they need so that they make a well-informed decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. That was fantastic and a nice overview. I like how you answered a lot of the most common questions off the bat. So if you are watching tonight and you're wondering, after listening to this first presentation, thinking, well, I live in an apartment or I don't have a south-facing roof, I'm shaded, what am I supposed to do? I am going to turn you over to Tony Napolitano, who is going to talk to us about community solar options.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Heather. Appreciate it. I really love your publications and your events, both in person and virtual. So thank you for that. And Sam, great presentation. Congratulations on 10 years. That's fantastic. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about community solar subscription programs. And Sam actually gave a really great overview of net energy billing, which, as he said in his presentation, is the thing that powers community solar programs as well. So he gave a great kind of base of understanding of that. I'll get into it a little bit more in my presentation. But that was a great starting point, Sam. So thank you. Here we go. So next, I'll have to remember to say next. I'm not used to that. So about Maine Community Solar. So we're here to help people understand community solar programs, specifically subscription programs, and then help them enroll in a program that's right for them. So that's our job. We're out in the community every day talking to people at events. We meet with people daily. We do virtual stuff like this. So far, in less than 2 years now, we've helped more than 450 businesses and thousands of Mainers, consumers, enroll in community solar programs. So it's something that we really enjoy doing. We really take an educational approach. It's most important to us that people understand what community solar is and they understand what they're signing up for before they sign up for a program. Next, please. So I think Heather mentioned in my brief bio there, I've been in green building, renewable energy, sustainability for a long time. And historically, it's been really hard to make sustainable choices, especially around renewable energy. And, you know, Sam can probably attest to this, but it wasn't too long ago that you had to pay a substantial amount of money and come out of pocket in order to get a solar array on your roof. And that was really your only option. And it made it really difficult for a mass number of people to participate in renewable energy. And with the improvements in panels and the tax credits and all this stuff, it's making renewable energy, solar specifically, so much more accessible to everyone, whether you're putting panels on your roof or you're tapping into a new program like community solar. So that's the challenge that we faced, how to get more people involved. It was very difficult to do. Next slide, please. And then, you know, we have this game changer, really, to my mind. When I found out about community solar, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. That's 2 years ago now. Maine passed legislation in 2019. You know, I found out about community solar at the very end of 2019. And what's happened is, you know, net energy billing, virtual net metering, all of these things have kind of come together and made it possible for really every single person that pays a utility bill to support renewable energy, benefit from solar energy, all at zero cost. It's fast and easy to do. And it's really made this something that anyone that wants to do it can do, and removed all those traditional barriers to entry. And it's changing the face of renewable energy in the ways that people can get involved every day. So it was a real game changer learning about community solar and making that available to the people of Maine. Next slide, please. So Maine passed legislation was one thing, hugely important. So the net energy billing, the virtual net metering, that made this possible. But also, you know, the cost to produce a kilowatt hour of electricity through solar has dropped by about 90% over the last 10 years. So the technology is just getting better and better. The legislation and the regulations are catching up. You just have this kind of perfect storm that's making this available to more and more people. Also, I feel like we have kind of a consciousness now, like people are starting to say, this is important. I'd like to get involved. What can I do? And of course, that's why we're all here. So next slide, please. There are some benefits to a subscription model. I always talk about trade-offs. You know, people want to know, what subscription model? Do I put panels on my roof? Do I purchase a share in a community solar farm? To me, it's all about trade-offs. So if you want to consider a subscription model, you can support local renewable energy, which is awesome. You can save 15% on your electric utility bill. That's kind of the standard offer here in Maine right now. Some community solar companies are offering 10%, but 15 is the standard. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to join a farm. There are no monthly fees that you have to pay to participate. There's no equipment, obviously, to lease or purchase or worry about, or a long-term commitment, especially for those of us that are renters, or maybe our roof does have to be replaced or something like that. And it's fast and easy to sign up. So those are the benefits of community solar, and that's those are some of the things that make it right for a group of people out there in Maine. Next slide, please. How it works. So Sam touched on some of this, so it's going to sound familiar, right? But it's slightly different because it's kind of like it's not right on your property, so it's not connected to your house. It's over, maybe it's off the highway in Gray. There's some in Standish, right? We have one where I live over on in South Portland on the old landfill there. So these farms are located away from my home. But I subscribe to one locally somewhere in my utility service area, and that farm produces electricity on my behalf and it sends it into the CMP grid for me. CMP recognizes that electricity and applies it to my electric bill in the form of kilowatt hour credits, just like Sam was talking about, just like those solar panels that some people have on their roof. This reduces the number of kilowatt hours I'm charged for on my electric bill. And like Sam said, on a one-to-one basis, you're getting credits for kilowatt hours. Those kilowatt hours are coming off your bill. And I'm going to go into a little bit of the billing in a minute and explain how it works, because that can be confusing to folks. Your solar company charges you for those kilowatt hour credits at the utility rate minus your 15% discount. Any unused credits are banked and applied to your utility account when your solar farm produces less energy than you use. So once again, some of this is sounding a little familiar. I use less electricity than my farm produced in the summer. I'm going to bank those credits. They're going to roll over and I'm going to use them in the winter. A lot of the stuff that we already heard applies. The credits only last for 1 year. So your community solar company is going to size your share of the farm to match your kilowatt hours that you need over the course of the year. And they actually underestimate a little bit. They typically allocate about 90%. That way you're not going to go over, because as Sam noted, you don't want to have more credits than you need because then they expire. You can also have them apply to another property though. If you want, you can sign up multiple properties for these programs. So, but that's how it works. And that's the really wordy way of saying how it works. But next slide, please. This is something that my brain works better with, just a good graphic. So you see the solar farms. They send energy into the electric grid. The utility, CMP in our case, down here in Portland, recognize that electricity as credits. They apply it to your utility bill and you purchase those credits at a discounted rate. So you end up getting discounted electricity, making a positive environmental impact, which is one of the main reasons I'm involved in this. No installation, of course, for these types of programs. Next slide, please. So these are the number one questions that we always get. Like, I think people understand, oh, there's the farm over there and I'm getting some electricity and it's free, so that's cool. You know, I'm supporting renewable energy and local energy production. I like that. But really the thing that confuses people sometimes is the billing. And I'm gonna show you the 3 pieces of the billing and how they all fit together here. And this is from one of our actual customers. And you know, for a little while with community solar, it was like there were these kind of big bumps in the road actually, where people had signed up for farms and those farms hadn't gone live yet, and they hadn't started receiving credits. Well, that's for the most part been resolved now. Farms are coming online on a regular basis now. So a bunch of our subscribers are receiving credits, or a bunch of people we've helped sign up. This is one. Sam had mentioned that minimum delivery charge, or it's the charge that I think of it as the charge that CMP basically charges me for maintaining my meter, because whether I use 0 or 50 kilowatt hours or anything in between, they're going to charge me $13.73 per month. So that's what you're going to see on your bill, your CMP bill, even if your community solar farm covers all of the kilowatt hours that you use in a given month, like they did in this case. There are a couple clues that you're going to start receiving, or you have started receiving community solar credits. So one is that you're only paying $13.73 for your electricity, but the other is under your messages. The second paragraph talks about the fact that your billed kilowatt hours may be less than the kilowatt hours shown in the meter detail section of your bill. We'll get to that. because we've applied net energy billing credits. So there it is again, net energy billing. They're giving you a heads up. And you can see down at the bottom here where Sam had showed how to kind of calculate your annual usage. You can see in April, May, June, July, the kilowatt hour usage is zeroed out because this customer is receiving credits that cover their entire bill. Next slide, please. Okay, and now we're going to get into the weeds. This is the part of my bill that I never looked at before I started talking to people about community solar. Your meter details is that black bar across the middle of the page. And what you do is you subtract your meter reading. You subtract your prior meter reading from your meter reading, and that should give you the number on the far right, total kilowatt hours that you've used for that billing cycle for that number of days. Okay. And when those numbers don't add up properly, you know that that's because you're getting kilowatt hour credits. In this case, that number is 0 because their entire usage is covered by their community solar credits. So, and then you can see in the billing breakdown, billing shows 0 kilowatt hours multiplied by their delivery service. So that zeroes out. That delivery, kind of that base fee there, the $13.73 does show up. And then next slide, please. See on the next slide, once again, and actually I have delivery billing, but it's actually supply billing. Sorry about that. Shows 0 kilowatt hours there. So that's what you're going to see on your utility bill, especially during the summer. And then as your credits start to roll over and you start to bank them, you're going to see your CMP bill zeroed out like that. Next slide, please. Okay, and then here's an example of the customer portal for, in this case, Arcadia is a very large community solar developer in Maine, but at each month you'll be billed by your community solar company for the amount, the dollar value of those kilowatt hour credits at a 15% discount. And they bill you at the very same rate that the CMP standard offer bills you at. So they do that math for you. Then they apply your 10, and this is a 10% discount, but as I said, right now in Maine, most discounts are 15%. So you'd end up saving a little bit more. So you have the CMP piece, you have the community solar piece. Next slide, please. And then you have the bank piece, the bank sheet. And so this is provided by CMPs. And this shows, as you can see, how much electricity in kilowatt hours was generated by your solar farm, how many kilowatt hours your account used, whether it's in excess or whether you're negative, and then the amount banked for you that's there available when your farm doesn't produce quite as much as you use. So when you add all of that together, that's how your kilowatt hours show up, how you're billed for them, and then how they roll over the course of the year. Next slide, please. This is just an example of a customer billing portal. This is a place where you can come to get all of your information. Every community solar customer has their own billing portal, just like you have a portal with CMP. It shows you where your farm is, right? You can go up there and take a peek at it. If you're someone that likes to actually put eyes on your panels, you can go up there and take a look at it. Talks about your savings, talks a little bit about your environmental impact and stuff like that. But everyone gets a billing portal. Next slide, please. And then I threw all of those pictures and numbers at you real quick. This is a really kind of simple way for me to break it down and understand it. If a customer uses 1,000 kilowatt hours in a billing cycle and their community solar farm produces 1,050 kilowatt hours for them, 1,000 kilowatt hours will be applied to the utility bill as credits. 50 kilowatt hours will be banked for future use. The customer will still pay the utility minimum account charge, $13.73 for CMP. The customer pays the developer for 1,050 credits at the 15% discounted rate. and the bank credits will be applied when solar farm production does not cover the full usage. And that's kind of the whole package rolled together there, how the billing math works. Next slide, please. Questions to ask. So this is really important. I feel like community solar is so new that some people don't even know where to start asking questions, right? And Sam, I thought, did a great job of having those frequently asked questions. Well, the Maine Office of the Public Advocate is a great resource for any consumers that are interested in community solar. They have a whole webpage about it. They have a little video there. They even have like a one-pager handout that you can look at and make sure whenever you're talking to someone about community solar, ask these questions of them. So it's a really great resource. You just go on and Google Maine Office of the Public Advocate Community Solar and it will pop right up. But some of the things they recommend you ask, what's the saving percentage? You know, for some people, for me, I have a small electric bill. The difference between 10 and 15% isn't that much, but I've seen some people with some pretty large bills. So ask what you're getting for a savings percentage. It's typically 15, but it can be 10 in some cases. What are the disclosure terms? Are they asking for 90 days notice if I want to exit the program, or 6 months notice if I'm exiting the program? How long are they guaranteeing my savings for? Some community solar farms will guarantee your savings for 10 years. Some will guarantee your savings for 20 years, which is really nice. Am I getting a kilowatt hour credit or a monetary credit? Typically, consumers in Maine are getting a kilowatt hour credit, but it's still a question worth asking and understanding how those work. When will my credit start? I know people that have signed up for a program in 2019 and their farm has not gone live yet, which can be incredibly frustrating. We have a new person that we hired here in the office. He signed up for community solar last month and his farm went live before mine did. So you should ask and find out when your farm is going to go live, when your credits are going to start, what the cancellation policies are. Almost all of them are free cancellation, no long-term commitment. Next slide, please. The big question, this is the question that so many people ask, right? Is it too good to be true? And that, I think, comes from really not understanding what it is. Once you start to understand that it's really part of this same net energy billing program and virtual net metering that powers rooftop solar and stuff like that, I think people start to understand a little bit more of what it is. It's not just, you know, necessarily someone giving you free money, but we had a great meeting it was at the Bangor Chamber of Commerce, talking with some folks from the Maine Public Utilities Commission, and they were, you know, really advocating for community solar. One of the things they talked about, Mainers are already paying for these programs. Maine has already invested a lot of money in community solar. Your utility rates are going to go up yet again, unfortunately, but a lot of that money is going to upgrading the grid, upgrading substations, stuff like that. So we're paying for it in taxes already. We're paying for it in rate increases. This is a way to offset some of those additional expenses. So that's a reason to take care of it. Or I'm sorry, that's a reason to participate in it. It's the same program that powers rooftop or on-site solar. So that helps people understand kind of exactly what it is. And it's a free way to participate in the renewable energy revolution, which is really awesome, I think. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. That's it. So that's the end of my presentation. Here's our contact info. We have an office here on Commercial Street. I think Heather's going to share my personal contact info, and you're totally welcome to contact me anytime. We also have a team here on Commercial Street. They're fantastic, but what they do is answer people's questions. So if you have questions, give them a call, send them an email, fill out a form on our site, and schedule a quick phone conversation. They'll answer all the questions you have, and then if you need help or if you want help, they'll help you enroll in a program in about 5 or 10 minutes. And that's it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Tony. That was fantastic. And it's so great to know that there's an option that we can all take advantage of between now and when we get our own solar panels put on our homes. So thank you for that.
Sure.
At this point, we are going to transition to the Q&A portion of the evening. And we do have a handful of questions that came in both through the registration process as well as through the evening tonight. So I am going to kick us off. I did happen to notice that there were quite a few questions about batteries. So Sam, I think this is probably going to be for you to lead, but I'm going to tell you I'll read all 4 of these battery questions because you may be able to wrap them together in your response. But we have a question on what battery storage options comparable to the Tesla Powerwall do we have at this time? So I know you mentioned the Generac, but are there any others? How much can a backup battery handle during a power outage? You know, such as heat pumps, water pump, fridge. Best battery and storage options, and what's the average lifespan of batteries? So why don't you take it away, Sam, and dive in a little bit. And if that was a little too much to throw at you at once, I'm happy to repeat some of those.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, there are a number of different options available, and we have not standardized on any one. We offer a number of different options at Maine Solar Solutions. Generac is one of those. What's nice about Generac is they actually acquired a Maine-based company that was started in Maine called Pica, and have folded that into the Generac brand. There are others. There are Simplify. There's a number of there's Solaric. There's been a number of different manufacturers who've come to market to offer alternatives, and they all differ a little bit. They differ in price. They differ in capacity. They differ in how they top off in terms of system size. So no easy answer other than to say that there are options available. And that's where we really get into the weeds of trying to figure out what the customer's needs are, get a rough idea as to what their budget is, and then steer them in the right direction so they understand the alternatives. So how much can a battery back up? I'll try to keep it simple. Electricity usage is measured in 2 ways. One is in how many watts it takes to run a load, and the other is in how much electricity that load uses over time. So a real simple example is an old-fashioned 100-watt light bulb uses 100 watts of power every instant. If you run it for an hour, if you run that light bulb for 10 hours, so that's 100 watts times 10, that's 1,000 kilowatt hours, or 1,000 watt hours, 1 kilowatt hour. So again, it's a little bit complex. What it comes down to, practically speaking, most of our customers are looking to back up their critical loads in their home. We tend to stay away from powering electrical loads that are really heavy, like heat pumps or electric hot water heaters or heat pump hot water heaters. Those use a lot of electricity, both instantaneous and over time. Most of our customers are looking to back up their refrigerator. They want to be able to run lights in the home, some plug loads to keep a radio on, charge a cell phone, the well pump, right, which is actually a very large electrical load, but doesn't use a lot of power over time. So a lot of watts, but very small kilowatt hours because it cycles on and off. And for customers that still have boilers in their homes, a boiler doesn't use a lot of electricity. It's burning fuel, oil or propane. And we have a lot of customers who have a boiler in their home, have supplemented the heat with heat pumps, will actually go back to using the boiler during an outage because it can run off the battery. Now, technically, you can build a large enough battery bank and spend enough money to run everything in your home, but at a certain point, it just isn't practical. The lifespan of the battery. So battery lifespan is measured in cycles. A full cycle means the battery's been discharged 100% and then recharged. So typical battery, you discharge it 50%, the sun comes out and recharges it, you discharge it 50%, that would be one cycle. 50 plus 50 is 100. So I just happen to know that, the Tesla, and I'm not sure of the Generac, I think that they're both 10,000 cycles. So that would be a lot of cycles, especially given that they're really only being used during power outages. So practically speaking, the battery, given how infrequent power outages are, even if you get 2 weeks of power outages over the course of a year, you're probably going to get a good 10 years out of that battery. And what was the final question? That was lifespan. Did I cover them?
I think so. There was a general question, best battery and storage options, but I think that's sort of covered across the board. Anything else you'd add to that?
Yeah, the customer chooses what's best based off of being presented with good information.
Great. Thank you very much. Tony, I have a solar farm question. If I sign up for a solar farm, how do I know if it's a good one? And will the prices go up like CMPs do? And I imagine there's probably some fear out there from history of signing up with different what's the standard offer providers, and there was a lot of controversy around that people are probably getting confused. So do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So the interesting thing is it's not energy supply, right? So energy supply contracts are one thing. This is net energy billing. So it's just actually a 1-for-1 credit on your bill for any kilowatt hours produced on the farm. So your utility rates may go up. This does not affect your utility rates at all. In fact, we know utility rates will go up. All that can be said is no matter what the utility rate is, you're getting a credit for that exact kilowatt hour at that rate from your farm, and then you're paying it at a discounted rate. That way you're guaranteed to save money because it's a 1-to-1 swap and you pay for it at a discounted rate. So that is important. It's a great question because people are scared about supply contracts and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of confusion and negative feelings about that, but this has nothing to do with your supply. This is simply net energy billing credits applied to your bill. How do you know if it's a good solar farm or not? That is a great question. And I guess it really depends on, how you determine what is great. There are, farms that provide great customer service. There are farms that are built on brownfields, which is, I think, everyone's ideal in some cases. There are farms that are built on unused farmland. There are farms that are doing things like investigating growing blueberries alongside the panels or raising goats alongside the panels. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. But I would say the most important thing to think about is this a reputable solar, community solar company? Do they have a farm that's going to actually interconnect to the grid and go live? Am I going to get my credits in a reasonable amount of time? Just consider those things because in a lot of cases, community solar subscriptions are kind of like subscribing to a cell phone plan. They offer a lot of the same things with, in some cases, slightly different terms, but it's the same program at its heart. So.
Remember to unmute myself. Thank you, Tony.
Sure.
Question on extra considerations, if any, that need to be made when installing a car charging station or presumably solar to support a car charging station?
Like many solar companies, our company also installs car chargers, and in addition to batteries and solar. The car charger is simply another electrical load in your home. So there's nothing in terms of how it's wired up or integrated. One of the things to consider is if you're going to have a battery, you probably don't want to use your battery to charge your car. We're really excited in that we're working with Ford, and that Maine Solar Solutions is installing Ford's charging station for their new Ford Lightning F-150 all-electric pickup truck. And that is, at this point, the only electric vehicle where you can use the vehicle's battery to power your home. So we just did our first install, which was super exciting. At the end of the day, the car charger, charging your car, is another electrical load in your home. And it's not uncommon now for an existing solar customer to come back to us and say, hey, we bought an electric car. We want to increase the size of our solar array because we've increased the number of kilowatt hours we're using every year. And our answer to that is, if you want to be conservative, live with the electric car for a year and see how much electricity you end up using over the course of a year. And then we'll design a system to offset that additional usage. But if you want to get into it right away, I would be conservative, put in, let's figure out how many miles you drive. There's government resources to figure out how many kilowatt hours a year your car will use. And let's try to design a system that offsets what your average miles are.
That makes me think about the possibility to combine the two. Does anybody do that where they have a direct install and then they use community solar to supplement what they're not producing on their own roof?
Absolutely. We have customers who have maxed out or have used up their budget for buying solar on their roof who aren't offsetting 100%, and they can use community solar to reduce, let's say that they're offsetting 75% of their electricity with their own rooftop solar. They can use community solar to reduce the additional 25% that they're paying CMP by that 15%. Basically saying, I want a 5,000 kilowatt hour subscription to community solar.
Yeah. One thing I would say to that, Heather, just so everyone knows, they typically have to have a minimum amount of about 1,500 kilowatt hours. It varies slightly. So 5,000 would be a perfect example and very common. But, if they had a very, very small amount that wasn't covered by their array, they may not be able to sign up for a community solar subscription. They just have to look into it and see what the difference is. But agreed, it is an option for most people.
Great.
And we do, as Tony and I were talking before the presentation, we do refer a good number of our prospective solar customers who reach out to us asking about whether solar makes sense for them. In some cases, it doesn't. They live in a condo that doesn't allow solar to be installed. They live in an apartment. They are planning on moving in 2 or 3 years. And they're like, well, I guess I don't want to make the investment and then sell the house. And we actually do recommend that they look at community solar as an option to bridge the gap, or if solar just isn't appropriate for their home.
Makes sense. This question is about cost savings. So over the life of solar panels, how much can somebody expect to save compared to staying with CMP?
I'm not sure I can give a dollar amount on that because we don't know what the future cost of electricity is going to be. But it is a common question where folks ask us, well, how long will it take for my savings on my electric bill to pay for the solar? And for most customers with a roof that faces somewhere to the south, somewhere between southeast and southwest or directly south, and has minimal shading, we're typically seeing a payback period of about 10 years, which actually kind of makes the math. So the savings in electricity over the course of 10 years will pay for the direct purchase price of the solar electric system. Figure you have at least another 20 years worth of solar out of that warranty on those solar panels. Kind of hard to do the math in terms of what your return on investment is, but it's pretty good. It's pretty swift. Yeah. And as the price of electricity goes up, that payback time can drop. We based the payback calculation that we do on 3.5% annual inflation. So imagine how things are going right now for people with electricity rates rising faster than that 3.5% annual.
Yeah.
Quick one for you, Sam. Any benefit to black panels versus blue, vice versa? Or is it just aesthetics?
It's purely aesthetics. The rated output of the solar panel is that output. An identically manufactured solar panel that is black produces a little bit less electricity than one that has a white backsheet that makes it have that bluish appearance. But it's nominal.
Question about, they've heard that firefighters are concerned about solar panels on roofs. Have you heard anything like this? Can you comment on this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can see some of these questions here as well. I've been reviewing them. So some jurisdictions, some towns, code enforcement officers are working with their fire chiefs to decide whether or not or how to enforce these sort of voluntary standards that the national I forget what the association is, but essentially it's the National Firefighters Association has come up. The concern is that firefighters want to be able to have ready access to get up to the ridge of the roof. Some towns are requiring a 3-foot pathway on all sides of the roof. Some towns will take a look on a case-by-case basis and say, oh, the solar array is on the back of the home, the front of the home, the street side is easily accessible by firefighters, so we don't have to provide access. So it's a concern, it's addressed during the permitting process, and it is enforced by code enforcement, typically working with the fire inspectors. And we are seeing more and more of it being adopted in the state of Maine, where there are requirements for what we refer to as rooftop setbacks. 3-foot pathway, 18 inches to 3 feet down from the ridge, so a firefighter has easy access to the top of the roof to vent the roof in case of a fire.
That's great. I am noticing the time, and we do have time for just a few more questions. So this one is, I'm about to replace my roof. Do I need ice and water shield on the roof if I'm thinking about installing solar panels?
No, just work with your roofers if it was a standard installation of a roof. The attachment systems that we use will work whether or not there's ice and water shield underneath that portion of the roof where the solar array is. With the flashed attachment, it really doesn't make a difference. No need to spend the money on covering the whole roof with ice and water shield.
Great. What kind of maintenance is required for solar panels? So if I choose to install this on a new home, what's the durability of today's solar panels?
So minimal warranty on solar panels nowadays is 25 years. Warranties are a little bit complex. There's a workmanship warranty, and then there's a power output warranty. In total, typical solar panels, 25-year warranty. Solar panels don't have any moving parts. In Maine, we tend to get enough precipitation to clean them naturally. Really, the only maintenance is occasionally folks will have a droughty summer like we've been having. There'll be a lot of dust or pollen on their roof. We simply recommend don't get up on the roof, don't climb a ladder, just spray the roof with a hose if you want to try to clean off the panels a bit. The inverters don't have any moving parts either. So really maintenance is minimal, and we don't have any sort of a annual maintenance contract or anything like that. As a matter of fact, we for most of our customers, we have a 10-year installation warranty that covers any replacement or fixing any parts that are covered by the manufacturer's warranty as well. So, and we really don't have to use it all that often. So no moving parts. Do
you have to rake your roof in the winter? Is there any sort of scraping that has to happen to get the snow off, or do you just wait for it to fall off?
In general, we don't recommend that you try to clear the solar panels, to clear snow off of solar panels. The small risk of damaging the panel would have a high consequence of having to replace a solar panel. For the most part, once the sun comes out after a snowstorm, it may take a day or 2 or 3. The sunlight penetrating through the snow, hitting the solar panel, heats up the panel. The solar panels kind of act like a metal roof. And that's actually a good indication. If you've seen how snow clears off of a metal roof, that's how snow clears off of a solar panel. So again, not to make light of it, but we don't recommend that you get up on a ladder and try to clear snow off, because it'll all come down at once. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that we warn people once you install solar on your roof, is that roof is going to act like a metal roof. Snow might accumulate during a storm and come off all at once.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful when you walk out the next day that you don't get clobbered.
Don't park your electric car underneath your solar panels.
Exactly.
Or any car. Well, we have come to the end of our time for Q&A. So there are a bunch of questions that we did not get to. And as has been mentioned, we will be sending out contact information for our panelists. So if you would like to reach out to them directly after the webinar, you have their permission to do so and get some additional questions answered. So thank you again for joining us tonight for this episode of Home and Energy Chats. I hope you learned some helpful new information. Thank you again to our sponsors, Royal River Heat Pumps and Senecal Construction Services. Special thank you to Rain Rayner, who has been managing everything behind the scenes and set everything up so well. Thank you to our panelists, Sam and Tony, for sharing your expertise with us tonight. That was super helpful, and I'm sure that our viewers feel the same. Please mark your calendar for our next chat on November 15th. We're going to be talking about the Inflation Reduction Act and the benefits that it does offer Mainers. I know that was mentioned a few times tonight. A reminder that we do share the recordings of all of our webinars on our website. And this is also where you can find information about upcoming episodes. After the Inflation Reduction Act, the next one in December is on embodied carbon in building materials. So that's another great one. And lastly, you will see a brief survey pop up when we close the webinar. We would love to hear your feedback on today's session and also any suggestions you have for future topics. And I think that brings us to the end of our evening. So thank you again. And it's great to see you, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heather.
Bye-bye.